And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. I hope you're having a wonderful morning this morning. And of course, we are inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. They're open Monday through Saturday for sales and service, and you can get more information on their awesome inventory of new and used vehicles by going to GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Of course, we're with you up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, and the West Coast, and all around the globe on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCall DT. So make sure that you take a look and find us on any one of these wonderful outlets, YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. You can find all of these links by going to our main site, WakeUpCallDT.com, and right underneath the Wake Up Call words, you will find our 3 places to listen and 2 to watch. So YouTube and Facebook, where you can watch and listen, and then Podbean, where you can listen. So all of those, you go to WakeUpCallDT.com. You'll see them right there. They're all color-coded. You can click on whichever one that you would like to connect with us with, and you can be with us watching and listening from anywhere in the world. So thank you for hanging out with us inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Of course, here on a Friday, we have our 3 signature segments, and we're going to add a bonus ingredients to success because we had to make up for one and make sure that we bring that to you and keep our promises. So inside of MON-FRI's What's Poppin', the annoying moment of the week, proudly presented by Carvel DeWitt, will be first. Lead, Learn, Evolve, Ad-lib, and Deliver will be second. That acronym proudly presented by Chick-fil-A Cicero. Top Dog of the Week will be announced from K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare third, and we'll round things out with our typical Tuesday segment, which is the Ingredients to Success, proudly presented by Avicolli. So without further ado, we're jumping right into it with the annoying moment of the week.
Dan Tortora proudly brings you...
Is that for real? Are you kidding me?
The annoying moment of the week.
I really, honestly, I don't know how to respond to this.
Presented by Carvel DeWitt, 4322 East Genesee Street. It's what happy tastes like.
Do you have to be that crazy? I guess so. The annoying moment of the week, proudly presented by Carvel DeWitt, 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. It is what happy tastes like, and it's the longest standing Carvel franchise in America. Well, my annoying moment of the week, apparently UFOs are real, UAPs, whatever they want to call them, unidentified advanced phenomenon, or unidentified flying object, whatever that may be. Have you watched what's been going on? There's been covered on YouTube watching this hearing on UFOs, and a congressional hearing on what could be going on and what's happening here. Now, apparently within the last couple years, some people in the feed were like, show us an alien or stop talking. And they didn't say stop talking. They said something a little bit ruder, but I'm not going to say that. So, but you look at what's been going on now. So when I was a kid, I was afraid of aliens, right? We all have a childhood thing, and mine, ghosts and aliens. And so aliens were something that were unsettling to me. You know, when I was a little kid, the movie Independence Day came out, and those aliens are really creepy. And that scene where you think that the alien kills the doctor, and then you hear the doctor talking, and it's his voice, but it's a little strange. And you just see the smoke. So you think like, oh, is it the doctor? Is he still alive? And then the alien throws the doctor up against the glass, and you can tell that the alien is literally like using his vocal cord by like being in him. It's gross. So that movie was very unsettling to me, as were like, you know, any of those alien movies back in the day. And I wasn't having it as a child. And we sent the rovers to Mars, and I'll never forget this. There was, I think I was watching ABC or something, one of the nightly newses, and there was just a picture, just a wide shot of Mars, and we're just staring at this red planet, and I was just waiting for a shadow or something to go by really fast, and I was freaking out. And I went outside. I went outside. My dad was gardening, and I said, "Dad," I said, "they got Mars on the TV, and they're saying like aliens might exist, and like I don't know what to do, and I'm freaking out." And my dad's like, "Well, they probably do exist." One of those things like, "Yeah, whatever." And to me as a child, that was like my dad telling me that my nightmare was real. So not great. And so this week, while I was sleeping, here's some fun stuff. So while I'm about to fall asleep. I was already past when I should have fallen asleep. I had to get up really early. And so I go to bed and I watch the TV, and it's still like 11 something. And then it's 12 something. I'm like, I need to go to sleep. And I end up staying up past 1 o'clock. And I believe that's when it happened. And out of nowhere, so where my bedroom is situated, like the wall on the outside, so the outside of my house, so my wall, and then to the outside, it felt like something had went up against the wall outside, which was the wall to my bed, and started to climb. And then it sounded like it was up on the roof. And I'm thinking to myself, is this a raccoon? But how could a raccoon scale my house? And then I was like, okay, maybe it's the wind, but I didn't hear the wind the rest of the night. And then, I found out that it did rain overnight that night. So I was like, okay, I'm going to hope that it's rain, but it sounded large, and it sounded like it had gone from the side of the house to the top of the house. So I checked my house in the morning. There was no marks, no scratches, nothing. But this thing sounded big. And there was another time last year where it sounded like something was in my ceiling, like it somehow got into my attic, but I don't know how anything would get into my attic. So I was trying to figure that out. And that was really disturbing. I think that was on like a Saturday morning. And I was just laying in bed, and it sounded like this thing was moving, like back and forth, back and forth. And I was like, okay, do I check the crawl space, or do I just hope that that's not something that's inside of my home? And because they make all these absolutely terrifying movies now, there used to be like a scary movie once a year, right? And now it's like every single month there's some type of possession movie in the theater. And now they're making an alien TV show because the alien movies were not enough for us to see them every few years, but now we have to have an alien TV show. And so, the stuff is gross, and it's terrifying, and it's strange. And then they use children in movies, and that's even more terrifying because there's like little kids talking to things and whatnot. And just this freaky, gross, scary stuff. So, anyways, that happened this week. I heard this like thing on the outside of my house sound like it was crawling, and then it sounded like it went to my roof. And then I laid completely silent. But here's my thing. I was overly tired. I felt like I couldn't hear straight, see straight. I felt a little bit out of it. But I know what I heard. And it got loud enough that my dog didn't bark, but Lily like lifted up her head and put her ears up. But I'm like, okay, she's not barking. She's not freaking out. They say that dogs can always sense danger before humans can. So I was like, okay, if she's sleeping, then maybe we'll be okay. But I made myself stay awake. I don't even remember how I fell asleep, what time I fell asleep, because I was making myself stay awake as long as I possibly could. I wanted so badly to look out my window. I wanted to go outside and look up at the roof, but no part of me, because I have a huge imagination, and I always have, and it serves me really well when it comes to like creating something like screenwriting or something like that. But it does not serve you well when you hear a noise and then you start picturing what the alien looks like. And then you think to yourself, what if I go outside and the alien has a cloaking ability and it just makes itself look like it's not there, but it is there, and then it could jump off and bite my face? And what movie have I watched where aliens have been kind, gentle, and nice? So I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. And before I heard the noise on the side of my house and the roof of my house, I heard this boom, 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 like that. And I've heard that noise before at my home at night, but it's typically late at night, and it's like this boom, 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 and it doesn't sound like a plane. It doesn't sound like a plane at all. it kind of sounds like a helicopter, but it sounds different. It's like this, like this, and then it's just kind of like goes away. And it sounded like there was like two. So you hear that, and then you don't hear anything. And then you hear something that sounds like it's on the side of your house and then on the roof of your house, and then you don't hear anything. And then you hear a faint again. So I'm like, okay, so the aliens were going around my community. They sent somebody down to do a reconnaissance mission. They were on my roof. And then when I heard the ship again, the ship took them back onto the ship, and they flew away. That is what my brain told me. I could not go out to corroborate that story. I also did not go outside in general because if it was true, I was like, no, I'm not having it. I don't think I'm prepared for this. So then it made me start to think I need to get more prepared. So I was like, maybe I need to get a Lucille bat like Negan and just be ready for it. But yeah, very creepy, very unsettling. Hence why I'm wearing the shirt today. Are you human? If you look very closely, the shirt actually has an in here. So it says, are you inhuman? And when you shut off all the lights, it's supposed to glow inhuman. So I wonder if that'll work. Why don't we test that out? Why don't we see if that's something that could actually be the case? So let's see. Does it glow? I mean, I guess we won't be able to adequately see it here because we're not in like total darkness, but just kind of interesting. I was wondering if you could see, because it's supposed to glow inhuman in the IN, but I also wear this shirt for a deeper meaning of like where we are as human beings today. So I do very much wear it as a shirt that says, are you human? And it found its third meaning today as I am wearing the shirt because I'm talking about aliens and freaky stuff. So anyways, so all that stuff happened. So here you're watching this on a Friday morning, right? So all that stuff happens Wednesday night of this week into Thursday morning. And then what's on YouTube Thursday morning? Not a hearing about UAPs and aliens, but a live hearing. So it's like Wednesday night I go to bed, I'm thinking, is this an alien or aliens? I wake up Thursday morning and there is a live congressional hearing about unidentified aerial phenomena and all this other stuff. I would like to think that it's a coincidence if it's God's humor, but I'm like, I don't think God would do this to me because he knows that it would make me sad and a little freaked out. But yeah, to go to sleep Wednesday night and wonder if there is an alien there, be Wednesday night into Thursday morning, and then wake up and of all days and all times of the year to have a congressional hearing about aliens, it's the morning after the night where I thought that there could be an alien on my roof or on the side of my house. Really cool. Awesome. I pictured a big praying mantis looking thing. Very disturbing. Not a fan. But anyways, so that in and of itself is the annoying moment of the week, right? What happened Wednesday night and the freakiness of it and the fact that I've heard those things before in the past. So that's all freaky. That's all an annoying moment of the week. Waking up to an alien hearing after a night of confusion, that also adds to the annoying moment of the week. And the overall thing of like, now we're just talking about the stuff. By the way, do you realize that the government does this like bait and switch thing? Do you realize this? That the government and the media seem to do this stuff all the time. It's like there's a war going on. There's something like big going on, right? California riots. And then all of a sudden you don't hear about them anymore because you hear about us bombing Iran. And then you don't hear about that anymore because there's a congressional hearing about aliens. And so there's this notion of like the bait and switch, right? They when something big is going on that they don't want you to pay attention to, the media and or the government will just shift you into something else. You realize that like we've been talking about aliens so much more in these last few years, and there's been all of this stuff going on, COVID and the pandemic, and was it manufactured in a lab and da-da-da-da-da, and all these questions are going on, and like the ballots at home and were those ballots fair, and why were there so many paper ballots and a push to do that, and you know, convenient to have a pandemic in an election year right after Netflix releases a show about a pandemic and says that it's not an if, it's a when it happens. So just weird timing of like they're warning us about it days before it comes to us. And so just a lot of things that if you really pay attention in this world don't make sense. If you're a sheep and you just follow blindly, then hey, My prayers go out to you, and I hope that you develop that brain soon. But a lot of us that are paying attention realize that the alien conversation seems to come up when really big things are happening in the world. Like people are like, oh my gosh, is there going to be World War III? You wake up the next morning, aliens. So that's another annoying moment of the week, the bait and switch. And just the fact that we're talking about this stuff, because the curious George inside of me wants to learn. And then the child that was terrified of aliens growing up is like, no, I don't want to know. Because I'm like, release it. If it's real, we need to know. Like, I'm a person that I'd rather know the truth than live a lie. But at the same time, if they finally release this stuff and we see the bodies for the first time and see all these things, like, this is going to be freaky and strange. Now, there are many people that I have met in my life that I thought to myself, if they end up pulling off their face and being an alien, it'll give me some peace in knowing that human beings can never be that way. Like if it's another complete species, then I'm like, okay, that makes total sense because it didn't feel like a human being can do and say the things that you do and say. So there would be a peace to knowing that that person was an alien. Also terrifying. So I don't know if y'all are with me on this and if you feel the same way that I do, but feel free to comment here on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and on facebook.com/wakeupcalldT, as well as commenting just a general on our social media. Do you believe in aliens and are you following this thing? Are you following because these videos have come out over the years and just this creepy stuff. And the more I'm intrigued to know what's going on, I'm also asking why, because again, it seems like these hearings and this stuff about UFOs and aliens comes into the media when there's other things going on that they want to take our focus off of. And so as interested as I am, I'm kind of looking at the timing of this and saying, okay, well, this seems all too convenient. But at the same time, as interested as I am, I'm cautiously freaked out. So it's just like, I mean, the way that the 2020s have gone, if they say aliens exist, it's par for the course. But, I mean, there's people out there that are dressed up looking like aliens every day these days. There's some strange-looking human beings out there, some terrifying, I don't know what they are anymore. But maybe that was done on purpose, right? Maybe these people were tipped off that aliens were coming, so they started doing all these weird things to themselves so that the aliens won't take them because they're too freaky looking. So, because even an alien, I think, would know when someone looks like a clown to probably leave it alone. So maybe I just need to get that clown makeup going and sleep with one of those little, squeezable noses that can make that horn sound, and maybe they'll leave me alone too. But for all the jokes that have happened throughout history, this is something serious. I mean, congressional hearings with people potentially whistleblowing about what is going on with UFOs. Is Trump going to, if there was ever going to be a president that was going to release information that everyone else kept secret, it would be Donald Trump. And that's what I thought when he was the 45th president a few years back. I thought to myself, if aliens are real, he would have told us. Because he would have looked at that binder, and he loves to talk and speak off script. So at some point, he would be at some dinner honoring somebody for something of like the 125th division of da-da-da-da-da, and 5 minutes into his speech, he'd be like, by the way, do you know that aliens are real? They're totally real. They're real. I saw one. I shook its hand. We had a Diet Coke. We sat down together. It was very fun. I think we're good friends. I think we're wonderful. By the way, love the aliens more than China. Love the aliens more than California. It's totally fine. And you know what? We're not going to... Those aliens are different because we don't have to send them back. They just go by themselves. They just go. And so I feel like he would have said something already. So there's peace in childhood me that is like, please God, no. There's peace in being like, this is a president who does not care what anybody else thinks. He's going to say what he wants to say. And he didn't say anything yet. However, these hearings going on, and maybe these hearings have been going on forever, but back before social media, we didn't have any of this stuff. And back before streaming, we didn't have any of this stuff. And so maybe they've been having hearings forever and a day, but having them right now in today's world where everything is instantaneous and it's accessible, I'm watching because I'm interested. and knowledge is power, I'm also hoping that I don't see anything that has any validity because it's frickin' crazy. And so, I don't know what word I was going to say there, but it's very, very, it's just crazy. You know? Happy 39 years of life, Dan. By the way, aliens exist. Get prepared. You know? So, I mean, do I have to put half glasses of water all around my house? Do I have to have a bat ready? Am I supposed to put aluminum foil on my body? To those of you that haven't seen the movie Signs by M. Night Shyamalan, you have no idea what I'm talking about. For those of you that have, congratulations that you know that reference. So, those are my annoying moments of the week, all connected to aliens, and I wear this shirt sometimes to ask human beings, are they truly human? And how they treat other people. That's my question. Are you human? Because the way you treat people is not very human-like. But now we look at these hearings that are going on, and I say to myself, well, do I have to start asking beings if they're human? And was it coincidental that there's a hearing about UAPs and aliens the morning following the night that there was a weird sound outside, other weird sounds on the side of my house and the roof of my house, and then that weird sound again in the sky? And some people would say, hey, Dan, well, why don't you just go out and check? Well, because I didn't want to die. I didn't know if it was real or not. Now, listen, I'm going to fight. I'm one of those people that believes I can make it through anything because I have God by my side. So whether this stuff is real or not, God is real, and that gives me peace. And my dog wasn't going crazy, so that gave me peace. And the thought of going outside in the middle of the night at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning just to see if my thoughts were right was not going to give me peace. So, you know, it's one of those things like when you hear stuff outside and part of you wants to go outside and the other part of you is like, that's the last thing I want to do is walk outside right now. So, strange, but here we are. And, you know, if for anything else, people are paying attention to this congressional hearing. You ever watch C-SPAN and it's just like boring and there's not a lot of stuff going on? And you see like there's a few people from Congress in the room. There's an 80-something-year-old man who's asleep in the upper corner of the television screen. And you're like, oh, what are they doing with 4 people there in Congress and a guy sleeping? It's like probably passing a bill on healthcare that's going to affect us all. So this is different. This is like people want to know because there's people that like Star Trek and Star Wars and the alien movies and sci-fi in general and all the Marvel stuff. So I think that there's probably people in this hearing that are there just because like their child kind of want to believe that there's more out there, just wants to be in there. I feel like some people will be lying to you if they said like, I didn't go to this like I went to this congressional hearing just to gather information for my constituents. Like, nah, some of you went because you were maybe like nerding out, geeking out a little bit and just wanted to know what was going on. So yeah, very strange. And I guess we shall see. But there's a lot of things going on out here. Now, I'm going to read something that I saw. It says, mandating care for service members and civilians affected by unidentified aerial phenomena, which are UAPs, submitted by the United States Congress on May 13th, 2025. John Burroughs, retired USAF Technical Sergeant. We are facing an urgent national-level challenge that transcends political divisions and demands immediate bipartisan action. Unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAP, are no longer a speculative topic confined to fringe science or popular media. Credible military, scientific, and intelligence sources now acknowledge the persistent presence of unknown objects operating in Earth's biosphere, objects exhibiting flight characteristics and technological signatures beyond known human capabilities. This is not a debate over what UAP are or where they come from. that is a longer-term investigation. The immediate crisis is this: American military personnel and increasingly civilians are being physiologically and psychologically harmed through direct or proximate encounters with these phenomena. Despite credible reports and government documentation confirming these encounters, the U.S. government has failed to provide the necessary recognition, treatment, and support to affected individuals. I was fortunate enough to receive help from my senators. Many others have not, and they shouldn't have to fight alone. Now is the time for Congress to act not just for truth, but for justice, the urgent problem. And they break it down here. This is crazy here. There's a lot of information here. So the urgent problem: there is now undeniable evidence that unknown aerospace phenomena are interacting with military and civilian populations. These encounters, documented by radar, infrared, satellite, and human testimony, frequently involve close proximity to UAP that emit forms of energy or radiation not yet fully understood. A growing number of military personnel have reported serious health issues, including neurological damage, radiation-like burns, and psychological trauma following such encounters. These reports are often buried under classification, lost in bureaucratic limbo, or dismissed due to the stigma surrounding UAP. This is not about belief, it is about duty. So, there's a lot of information out here. And the conversation about Congress and wanting some action to be made here. So, and I have watched what's been going on in the hearings. And, now just kind of seeing what's going on right now with some of the things that are out there currently that people are saying, some of the stuff that obviously I just read to you. But yeah, I mean, it's freaky and it's strange. And the crazy thing about one of the videos that I'm actually looking at in the studio right now is I had a dream about an unidentified aerial phenomena or unidentified flying object, however you want to call it. I had a dream about a black disc. It was like a silverish disc, and it was just like going through the sky with no sound. And then it just flipped on its side, and it was going like back and forth, almost like someone was moving a plate on a table, but it was making no sound. Yeah, I had that dream. That dream is vivid to me. So, yeah, this is great. Happy Friday morning, folks. But yeah, that's why this is my annoying moment of the week. Because it's freaking weird. And it's not comforting by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm going to let y'all think about it. We're going to take a step aside here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. This has been the Annoying Moment of the Week, proudly presented by Carvel DeWitt. Whether you believe in UAPs, UFOs, aliens, or not, what most of us believe in is we all have a sweet tooth, and we got to go somewhere to find that treat for us. And the place that has the best treats, in my opinion, Carvel DeWitt. There's nothing like a Carvel ice cream cake, and there are so many awesome things to get at Carvel in general, seasonal and year-round favorites. So make sure you go out today to Carvel DeWitt, 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York, and let them know that DT sent you. We will be back right after this, and we will go to Lead, Learn, Evolve, Ad-lib, and Deliver, proudly presented by Chick-fil-A Cicero. And, of course, we are here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McInerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Brian's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there was something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 2007, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There's a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience. It's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really change the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allowing customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servomation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machine, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machine. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. In a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I can tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com. And welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. And you can go and see them Monday through Saturday for sales and service. And, of course, you can let them know that DT sent you their way. You can get a sneak peek of their inventory by going to GreatLakesHondaCity.com today. So, going into our next piece here, lead, learn, evolve, ad-lib, and deliver is what the acronym stands for. Proudly presented by Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, New York, the first Chick-fil-A ever in Central New York. Today's topic is the unknown. So going off of my annoying moment of the week about UAPs and UFOs and aliens and that unknown, well, we now take a look at the unknown as an overarching conversation, because there's a lot of things that we don't know. So when we have this conversation of the unknown and we think about the unknown, right, it scares us. The unknown can be aliens. The unknown can be ghosts. The unknown can also be, I don't know what she's thinking. Is she going to break up with me? I don't know what he's thinking. Does he want to date me? I don't know if I'm going to get this job. When I walk out of the room, do they talk about me? Does my family like me? Is there a heaven? Is there a hell? Does God exist? There's a lot of things that people refer to as the unknown. Now, I would amend that list and I would say, yes, God does exist. And people would say, well, how do you know, Dan? And I would say, because I've heard, seen, felt things that I cannot describe. They have happened throughout my life, and I can vividly, I shouldn't say things that I can't describe, things that I can't refute. Like, I can't turn around and say it wasn't God. I have seen, I have heard, I have felt, and I know. And I can draw you pictures. I can tell you the account. The things that have happened in my life, I can tell you where I was, and I can tell you what I heard, what I saw, what I felt. And there are numerous stories, plus some near-death experiences where I was not the one that saved my life. And the one that kind of hits me, that comes to me always, is when I flew off my bike when I was riding through a cemetery as a kid, and I was ahead of my mom. And so if anything had happened to me, it would have been a while until anybody even got to me. So there's just a lot to be said about God. And in my life, I tell people this all the time. I said, if you want to know if God exists, I can prove it. And if you want to know if the other side exists, I can prove that too, because I have seen that. And I think at times I've felt it and I've heard it. So I know that there is good and I know that there is evil, and I know that they are both out there. And I think that those of you that want to pretend like they're not, I mean, that's your prerogative. But if you want to believe that aliens exist and you want to believe that just a lot of wild stuff, that your soul was transported into a different body, I mean, to not believe that God exists is kind of, compared to everything we've seen. I mean, if you want to dress up like a cat and poop in a litter box in the middle of your social studies class, and you believe that that is rational, and then you tell me believing in God is crazy, well, I'm sure God saw everything before it happened and continues to, but I never thought I'd see a human being dressed like a cat and want to sit in a litter box. But, you know, I guess there's crazy people every day that we can encounter. I know as a child that if there was a fellow child dressing up like a cat, making cat noises and pooping in a litter box, their family would be investigated, and child protective services would probably come and take that child out of that abusive and strange home. Now it's considered normal, and before it was considered straitjacket stuff for the parents because that's just weird. So, yeah. So when people tell me, how do you know that God exists? I would say, why do you tell your child that they can be a turtle? And why do we refer to people as they and them when that's not even correct grammar? I can't be more than one person. I mean, does they and them mean that that man or woman has a split personality disorder? That there's a lot of them? That when you address them, you have to talk to all of the people that live in that brain? Or, how does that work out? Because I've jokingly said that I knew they and thems way before, because I dated people that had many personalities, and I spoke to they and them at the kitchen table many times. There was only 2 people in the room, yet it felt like there was 14. So is that what we mean? So there's a lot of things that make no sense that in society today we're supposed to not talk about. It's so weird how it's like people are afraid to talk about crazy people, but when rational people talk about rational things, you can get yelled at. If you can say a man is a woman and a human is a cat, then can I say an orange is not a fruit, it's actually a steak? And if you order a steak at my restaurant, I can present to you an orange. And when you yell at me and say that it's not a steak, I could say it is if you think it is, and we think it is. Because that could save companies a lot of money if they bought a bunch of oranges instead of buying steaks. They don't have to cook oranges. They can serve them cold. They don't have to cut them. So oranges cost less than steak, and they really don't take any prep time. Could I say that a car is a submarine and then drive into Onondaga Lake, and then my car will be able to get me through? I mean, you have to think about the stupidity of saying something is something that it's not. Because when I was growing up as a kid, we would have thought that person was mentally ill, and we would have addressed it. Because if you can say that anything is anything you want it to be, then I could say my car is a submarine, I can drive into Onondaga Lake, and then when I die, what are people going to say? Right? What would you say? When I die from being stuck in my car at the bottom of Onondaga Lake and I drown, will there be people that are standing at the site where my car went into the water chanting, his car is a submarine, he's not dead? When they pull my body out and it's lifeless, they're going to say, no, he's not dead. Because if I believe my car is a submarine, then I can't die. Because the submarine will protect me. What if I was a pilot and I said this building is a runway? I believe it is. So why can't it be? See, what people don't understand is you can't say that I can make anything into anything, but then not use that for a topic. Like, Dan, you can be a turtle and a walrus and a man and a woman and a baby at 39 years old. You can be whatever you want, but it's not logical to say that you can change races. So if I can change genders without changing anything, why can't I change races? Why can't I walk up to someone and say, I'm an African Asian? If I believe I am. Dave Chappelle talked about it. So why can't I say I am? See, society today has taken the things that we know and have made them unknown or ambiguous, when there's actually things that we don't know. And the devil, just for y'all to kind of just take a look at this, the devil seeks to distort and disrupt. The devil is chaotic. if you don't know who you are, so think about it. What source would seek to divide people, exclude them from being around each other, take a group, divide that group, then divide that group into subsets, then divide that subset into another subset, a sub-subset, and then get all those people to eventually divide themselves within their own household, get them alone, and then offer them a fake friendship, air quotes, while they are alone, needy, hungry, and confused. If you take people and you continue to divide them by more and more and more and more and more and more reasons, you're going to create smaller and smaller groups until you create individualism. And individuals are easier to attack than groups are. That just makes sense. If you're at a bar and you go to run at somebody who's by themselves, it's you versus them. If you go to run at somebody who's got 5 people that turn around and right before you try to throw a beer bottle at them, there's 5 people that turn around and stand in front of that person like a fence, now you're dealing with 6 people. It's common sense. My ex told me, not everybody has the same common sense, and that's why you struggle with people. That's what she said to me. My response to her was, then it would be called uncommon sense, and that doesn't make sense. So you're telling me that somebody can say, well, Dan, you don't kill people because that's your common sense, but my common sense is that I can kill someone. See, if you start to distort reality, then everything becomes unknown. The easiest 2 answers on a test ever were name and gender. You couldn't get those wrong. Now you got people focusing on the header of the test, what's their name and what's their gender, and they're so focused on what do I pick today, that they don't even complete the test on time, right? If you're up there for 15 minutes. Name and gender is not a question. It's a given. And for anybody that's offended listening to this, I'm sorry that reality offends you, but don't kill the messenger. I never thought I would grow up in a society that's trying to define a man, define a woman, define a child, say that crazy behavior is normal, that up is down and down is up and left is right. I am not here to tell somebody to not live in their truth and be who they are. But there are some things that are crazy. I can't tell someone who's a serial killer to live in their truth, because that would be me telling them to continue to kill people. Right? I can't tell someone who abducts children to keep being who they are, because who they are is dangerous and terrifying. See, but a lot of people that have opinions have never experienced these things. Right? You can have an opinion and stand up for something, but what if that thing happened to you? Or what if what you're standing up for leads to a domino effect that ends up attacking you or your family or your livelihood or your health? We have to start dealing with what we know and then move forward. You know, we can't be ambiguous about who we are and where we came from. Right? We should be proud of that. I'm proud to be Italian and Spanish. I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to be Debbie and Ralph's son. I'm proud to be Lily's father. I'm proud to be Gammy and Pop Miller and G-Mama and Pop Cavino's grandson. I'm proud to be Noah's godfather. There's a lot of things that we don't know, right? We don't know exactly what heaven looks like. Some would say we don't know for sure if heaven and hell exist. We don't know if there are aliens, and if there are, what do they look like, and what do they do, and what do they want, and where do they live. But there's certain things that we do know. You can't call an orange a steak. And even to the people that are in this culture of making everything ambiguous, even they would get served an orange and go friggin' nuts when somebody goes, oh, that's a steak. And you go, no, it's not. It's an orange, and I'm not paying for it. See, the thing is if you're going to follow an ideology, you have to follow it all the way through. So if I can be a cat, then an orange can be a steak. A plane can be a boat. A giraffe can be a crocodile. Could you imagine if a crocodile was running towards you at full speed and somebody standing next to you said, don't worry, I believe that that's a dog. Don't move. It's going to come up and lick you. It won't bite you. Then both people get eaten by a crocodile. And then there's no one there to tell that idiotic story because they're both dead. So we have to look at what is unknown and learn how to address it. Now, I don't know for sure if we can see spirits on this plane. I don't know for sure if there are ghosts. I don't know for sure if there are aliens. I don't know for sure if that some of the things they've told us in history actually happen the way that they told us. Could you imagine if we found out that World War II didn't happen the way that we were told it happened? Could you imagine, like, your parents raising you on an entire story of how they met and how you were born and how you were raised, just to find out that none of that was true? Like, your entire life was a lie? You know, that would be terrifying and sad. And I think there's a lot of mental illness and mental health issues in America today, and maybe in this whole world, that we need to address. But a lot of people are afraid of the unknown. And growing up as a kid, I was. And what got me through it was the true belief that, and I have this prayer in my room, that there's nothing that's going to be given to me today that together with God I can't handle. So if aliens exist, then God's going to show me and you a way to handle that. We're going to learn. We're going to grow. We're going to figure it out. You know, people think, well, if aliens exist, then we're doomed. We're all going to die. I don't know how to fight. But here's something crazy. Going off of what I said before of this weird culture that's out there now. What if you've never fought a day in your life? And then, like, somebody wanted to fight you and you said, I believe I'm a ninja. And what do you think? Because you believe you're a ninja, now you're going to take... You're going to start wielding them perfectly and you're going to have all these ninja moves? If you walked out into an open square and said, I'm a ninja, that doesn't make you a ninja. And you probably end up looking like an idiot. Again, we can't just say we're something and then that's it. This is what I am. You know. I remember the good old days that if you were in a park and somebody believed that they were a bald eagle and they instead of sitting on a bench, they were perched on the bench and they were making bird noises, somebody would call the police and have that person removed from the park because they're probably fearful of their child's life and have no idea. Listen, if a person is willing to dress up and act like a bird, you have no idea what their next move is going to be because you didn't predict that to be their first move. Right? Who wakes up in the morning and goes, I'm going to dress up like a bird today? You know, like when human beings say when you say you could be whatever you want to be, like it's taking it out of context to make that the things that we're making it right now. Like you can be a doctor or a nurse and this and that. You can work toward it. You can work toward being a doctor, go to school for it, and just really not be good at it. You could learn everything, be really book smart, and when you have to do open heart surgery, you don't like it. You don't feel comfortable. Your hands shake. And then you realize, you know what? I got to do something else. I mean, we can say whatever we want, but actions really do speak louder than words. They really, really do. And in today's world, people just like say weird stuff and then other people accept it because they're terrified of telling that person no. When did we let crazy people tell us what to do? I'm not going to let a sane person tell me what to do. I answer to God. I don't answer to you. And, we all are going to live our lives the way that we want to live our lives. But there's some people that are like, hey, if they're not bothering me, then they could just do whatever they want to do. And I'm like, well, I could say that about a serial killer. I could say that about a rapist. I could say that about somebody who does bank heists. Well, I don't work in a bank, so why should I care? Why do I care that this person's robbed 5 banks in the community that I live in and held everybody up by gunpoint and shot a couple people? I don't work in a bank. If you say, if it ain't happening to me and it's not affecting my life, I don't need to care about it, you're being complicit in what's happening. As far as I'm concerned, you're an accomplice. You're there with that. Five pilots have been found drunk flying planes in the last month. What if that was the storyline? And I turned around and I said, well, I got on 20 planes this month and I got everywhere I was supposed to go. So if they were drunk, God bless them, they got me there. And if they weren't, God bless them, they got me there. I don't care about those 5 pilots that were drunk. I wasn't on those planes. How inconsiderate and rude that would be to say out loud and then find out somebody was on that plane fearing for their life. What if a pilot got on a plane drunk and you were on there with your daughter and that pilot almost crashed into a mountain? And you find out that pilot's drunk, and then the pilot sits down at a congressional hearing and says, well, Your Honor, I wasn't drunk because I identify as a sober person. Anyone? There's so many things going on in this world that we need to keep the things that are rational and logical that we all know. Like the sun is that you can't call the sun the moon. The sun is the sun. What if somebody goes, I don't have to put sunscreen on because the sun won't burn me? Because I believe that the sun doesn't burn anything, and I think lotion was created to give us cancer. And then that person gets skin cancer 3 months later because they put no lotion on, and the sun actually is the sun, and it can cause skin cancer. You know what I mean? What if somebody was told that they had cancer, and then they looked at the doctor and they said, well, I don't identify as someone that has cancer, and then they do no treatment, no radiation, no chemo, and then they die? Is the doctor responsible for malpractice, or is that person just an idiot? In my opinion, that person is a fool. You identify as someone who doesn't have cancer? Okay, that's all well and good. So you're not going to address, well, if I believe it's not real, then it's not. Okay. So what if you crashed your car into somebody and then you got out of your car and you left the scene of the crime and they called it a hit and run? And when the cops found you, you said, well, I don't believe that it happened. And if I don't believe it, then it didn't. What type of logic is that? I don't believe I hit anybody, so obviously I didn't. That sounds like the logic of a serial killer. It sounds like the logic of someone who is mentally ill. Somebody who would say to you, oh yeah, I got in an accident, but I don't believe that it happened, and I've told myself that it didn't, so it didn't. So I don't have to pay insurance because I don't believe that I was in an accident. And if I don't believe it, then it's not real. There are things that are real. If you don't pay your electricity bill, you will have no electricity. I mean, let's be real, folks, about life. If you don't have money, you can't buy stuff. You can't go outside, attach 4 wheels to your body, and say, I'm a car now. And then get on the highway and drive yourself. You can try, but it's not going to work. and they say, we're going to ride it till the wheels fall off. Well, be a human being that straps 4 wheels to yourself. Those wheels are going to fall off pretty quick. So, this lead project brought to you by Chick-fil-A Cicero, it begs the question of what do we do with the unknown? Number one, we need to stop making known things unknown. It's like America today is trying to take all of the history and all of the knowledge and wisdom we've gained and burning it all and starting over. If you pull down a statue of someone that was a slaveholder, it doesn't delete the fact that slavery existed. I want my kids to know where we came from so we know where we're going. That's what I want. I'm not happy that this world had slavery. I'm also not happy that when my ancestors came over from Italy, there was some really fun words that they were called and ways that they were treated. I don't like that there's people in this country that believe in having government-run grocery stores. That sounds like Nazi Germany. That sounds terrifying. That sounds extremely, extremely awful. Like you could literally put an entire state in poverty if you can control their groceries. That means no matter how much money they make, that still doesn't give them the right to any food that's there. And in World War II, didn't you stand in line with a ticket to get a loaf of bread? And you want to do that to America now? You want to do that to America 80 years later? If you're a person that wants to have a government-owned grocery store, I want you to be investigated. Honestly, I do. Like if there's some warrant that they can pass so that they can search your things. Because that sounds horrifying. Could you imagine? You can't just go to Wegmans. You would have to fill out a form online to the government. And then the government would tell you that you're only allowed to go to Wegmans this Wednesday between 12 and 2 p.m. And you have to be out of there by 2 p.m. And you're only allowed to get a certain amount of items. And they give you the items you're allowed to get. And then if you have allergies or you're lactose intolerant, you have to put in a special request and your request can get denied. I mean, I want to believe that the human race is intelligent, but there's been a lot of moves made over these last few years that make me believe that there's human beings and then there's people that look like us, but they common sense is like they're allergic to it. I mean, common sense. If you see a bear, don't roll in honey and then walk up to the bear and scream at it and say, "I'm here, big boy." But some people would be like, well, if I put honey on my body and I go up to talk to the bear, he's going to sit with me because he's going to be like Winnie the Pooh. He's going to eat your arm off. And then he's going to be like, why are human beings so stupid now? There's some things that just don't, they're so crazy that it's like, how do I even react to it? I mean, people used to tell me I'm crazy. People probably thought I was crazy for leaving traditional radio, crazy for starting my own business, crazy for going on the internet when they said the internet wasn't going to work and people didn't even know what a podcast was, crazy for going off on my own, crazy for living with my grandmother and taking care of her when I was in my 20s, crazy for moving away from home, crazy for living with a bunch of strangers in the Disney college program. There's probably a lot of things that people thought I was crazy for doing. But what one of those things harmed anybody? What one of those things was illogical or irrational? I started my own business because Because I didn't want to work for anybody that was I had worked for people that had lied to me, had wasted my time, had not necessarily had morals and values, ethics, or a belief in God. And I didn't want to deal with that anymore. I was getting paid peanuts. I was not going to be able to build a life. And when I asked them to keep their word, they laughed in my face and told me, we're happy where you're at. I took care of my grandmother because I didn't want her to have to go to a nursing home. And I knew that she was strong enough and that that as much as she was dealing with dementia, she was still my grandma. And I wanted her to live a full and complete and happy life. And I had been in nursing homes, and they're terrifying. I'm sure some might be good. I pray to God that's something that needs reform in this country. We need our state and national governments to reform nursing homes and assisted living facilities and hospitals so that we can actually be safe, God forbid we're sick, and be taken care of when we get older. You know, I went to work for Disney because I loved Disney my whole life and I wanted to challenge myself. It was an opportunity of a lifetime. So again, people might think it's crazy, but I'm coming to you with logical reasoning. There's nothing logical about me sitting behind the wheel of my car and saying it's a plane and then driving to Hancock International Airport and breaking through the fence and then putting my car on the runway and driving as fast as I could, expecting my car to take off and have wings. I will be arrested. I will be laughed at, and I will be interrogated and asked what in the heck I was smoking or drinking, or both, that made me think that my car was going to turn into a plane. But in the community that exists today of a certain group of people, if I tell them that I believe that my car is a plane, they would show up at the airport and stand at the fence and cheer for me to be the first man to drive a car into space. And they should all come with me to the loony bin, if that is the case. Some things in life are unknown. Other things in life are known. How do we deal with the things that are actually unknown? We pray. We breathe. And the best way I figured out how is we trust that God would never give us something that we cannot handle. And we work together. That's important too. We'll take a step aside here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. This has been Lead, Learn, Evolve, Ad-lib, and Deliver, proudly presented by Chick-fil-A Cicero. Today's topic, the unknown. We'll be back in the Great Lakes Honda City studios after this to announce our top dog of the week. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're gonna be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever gonna have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, Great Lakes Honda City on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. You will find them for sales and service, open Monday through Saturday. Let them know that DT sent you over there, and you can go to GreatLakesHondaCity.com for more information. It is now time for our top dog of the week. Top Dog of the Week, proudly presented by K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare and K-9 Campground Dog Boarding, and I appreciate them so very much. The Top Dog of the Week, you can go to K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse today. You can call them at 315-437-7110 for more information, and you can go to K-9 KAMP.com to find out more about the daycare that is right off of Bridge Street, across from BJ's, right off the highway, a couple lights, I should say, from Erie Boulevard. very centrally located right there on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse. You actually see it on the way coming off or going onto the highway. So make sure you get in touch with them today and let them know that DT sent you. K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare. My top dog of the week for this week. Oh, man, I got to think about it. I got to wonder who's going to be my top dog of the week. I got to Seacrest this thing. I gotta let it kind of drag out. No, I'm kidding. So my top dog of the week for this week, it's got to be G-Mama. You know, we got to celebrate her on her Remembrance Day. And, you know, her Remembrance Day, her celebration day, the day that she went back to the Lord. Not the day that she left us, not the day that she passed, not the day that she died. June 24th, the day that my grandmother, who is one of the greatest human beings that I believe God ever created, returned back to her rightful home. And I hope she's up there safe and sound. Hope she's watching over us. I miss her dearly. And when she passed away, I saw her dance with my grandpa. So that was a really beautiful, I don't even know what to call it. It wasn't a dream, but it was just something that I saw. When my grandmother passed, I saw her like from the back. So like it was almost like I was her. So you're seeing through her eyes walking forward. And there's like a cloud and there's this gate and this high gate. And then on the side of the gate, there's this like wide open space on the cloud. So you like can walk past the gate. And my grandmother started walking forward, and out from the smoke comes this man. And it's my grandpa, my Pop Cavino. And he looks at her, and she doesn't say a word, and he doesn't say a word. He grabs her hand, holds it up in the air, and puts his other hand around her waist, and he just starts dancing with her. All he did was grab her, hold her, and dance with her. No words were needed. He waited over 20 years to dance with her again. So, G-Mama, we celebrate you, and we remember you. We went to Avicolli's, where we brought you for Mother's Day. I got her a mug for that Mother's Day. And on the white mug was black lettering that says, like a boss. Because that's how she was. Sweetest woman in the world, but also a boss. And she just, you know, she could run the room. So my grandmother, I got this for her. She opened it up, takes it out of the wrapping. She puts it down on the table, and she looks at my mom. She put my coffee in there. Put my coffee in there. And we're at Avicolli's at the restaurant. My mom takes her coffee out of the mug from Avicolli's and pours it into the Like a Boss mug. And my grandmother proceeds to drink like 2.5 cups of coffee out of the Like a Boss mug. The mug had not been cleaned. The mug was in this wrapping paper. And my grandmother was like, put my coffee in there. And then when they came to refill her coffee, put it in here. So she got the Like a Boss coffee cup, coffee mug, and literally acted like a boss from the moment that I gave her her Like a Boss mug. So this year, to honor her, I went with my mom and my grandma back to Avicolli's, who we're proud to work and partner with. And I brought the Like a Boss mug. And I don't drink coffee, so I poured my water into it. And all the water that I drank the whole time that I was at Avicolli's, every sip that I took came out of that Like a Boss mug in honor of you. So, G, we miss you. We love you. You're an amazing human. And I can't thank God enough for just being in your presence. I would have been happy to be your neighbor. I would have been happy to be your friend. I would have been happy to be somebody that knows you in any stretch of the imagination. Would have been happy to be your teammate or your student. But I got to be your grandson, and in a way, your son, because you treated me like your child. And you helped to raise me. I want to read you what I wrote about my grandma to celebrate her. I wrote, to the best person I've ever met. Gee, Mama, I could never dream of a better person to have in my life. For every laugh, every hug, every conversation, every tear, every everything, I wouldn't change a moment I've had with you. You are the best roommate I've ever had. Your advice is always with me, just like you are. I hope you're enjoying heaven, and please give Pop a hug from me. I'm always by your side, and I know you're always by mine. Partners forever. I love you. Daniel Boone. Because that's one of the names that she would call me. And here she is with her Like a Boss mug. And that was at, let me do it over here. And that was at Avicolli's. So, shout out to you, G. I love you. I miss you, but I know you're with me. Bringing me closer to God every day and helping me fight off the devil and all works of evil at all times. My top dog of the week is the best person that I know. G Mama. Thank you, G, for everything. Top dog of the week, proudly presented by K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare. And we appreciate you and all the work that you do. Call them at 315-437-7110 and go to k-9kamp.com for more information today. With that being said, we'll take our final step aside and we will be back with the ingredients to success right after this. Avicolli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicolli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicolli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to K-9 Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see K-9 Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call K-9 Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9Campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9Campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to K-9 Campground.
Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvelange, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, are your sports card and trading card one-stop shop. They have Disney, Lorcana, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, hockey, soccer, baseball, basketball, football. They're the only store that I know that has every NBA, every NFL, and every MLB team. Do you know how many boxes that is? Do you know how tedious that job is to make sure that they're all maintained? That's 92 franchises. You can be a fan of the New York Mets, Dallas Cowboys, and Boston Celtics, and you got a home at GG Cards and Breaks. You could be a fan of the San Antonio Spurs, Denver Broncos, and Houston Astros, and your home is GG Cards and Breaks. They truly care about everybody that walks through the door, no matter what the age, and no matter if you've been there once or if you come there all the time. GG Cards and Breaks is a place where we can let our kid spirit flourish. And that's the best part of it. It's like walking into a time machine and hanging out with people that truly care about you and about the community. GG Cards and Breaks, run by the best and the best place to go. Head there today, 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Right off of Teal Ave, open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6, and on Sundays from 10 to 5. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life, I wanted to make sure we did the ingredients to success, which is typically on a Tuesday, and we did do it this Tuesday, but I owed you one. And so the topic for today, conversations amongst differing views. Wow, do people even do that anymore? Do people that disagree with each other even speak to each other anymore? It seems like when people disagree, they just walk away. Right? Runners. That's what we call them in relationships. Runners. Right? The moment that you call them out for something, they run. Right? Are you cheating on me? Ugh, I can't believe you say that to me. I'm leaving. Slam. Why'd you walk out the house? Right? If I'm not cheating, what do I have to hide? I hand somebody my phone right now. I've said that before to people. I go, if you think I'm cheating or you think I would ever cheat on you, here, take my phone. It's going to be the most boring, 7 hours of research that you're probably going to do your entire life, but have at it. Because I don't keep those relationships. I've never had a booty call. I'm not going to have a booty call. And I don't mess like that. I mean, I thought that I was being inappropriate inappropriate's not the word. Well, inappropriate to the relationship, I guess I would say. I flirted with somebody when I was dating somebody, and I went right to the girl I was dating. We weren't having a good relationship. Something inside of me was like holding on to her because I didn't want to have nothing, which is what a lot of us do. I was like 18 or 19 at the time. I think I was 19. And I needed to let go. And I'd flirted with somebody else because I wasn't happy in my relationship. And I knew I wasn't. I needed to get out. And I went right to the girl I was dating and I said, hey, just so you know, I flirted with this girl. This is what I did. And I'm not proud of myself. I'm like, I didn't kiss this girl. I didn't do this and that. But I just feel like I acted inappropriately. I acted in a way that I wouldn't want you to act. It's not who I am as a person. So if we need to break up, let's break up. You know, I'm going to be transparent. So, you know, I have those tough conversations. I don't run away. You know, I've dated a lot of people and noticed the pattern that I won't accept anymore is that I dated women that when we had to talk about something important, they would either go silent or they would yell or they would leave. Silence doesn't solve problems. Just because you yell doesn't mean you're winning the argument. And when you walk out, I mean, you walk out and you walk out and you walk out. You know what it shows me when somebody walks out on you? That they're going to do that again. And one day it's going to be in a big way. I think somebody that walks out on you in your relationship might walk out on you when you, here's a prime example. Girl I dated, we were dating for, I don't even know, a month and a half, a couple months, something like that. We got into an argument. She packed up her bags, left where I was living, because at the time she was living out of town. So she came in to see me, stayed where I was staying. And the reason why I'm being vague about that is because like it wasn't my house. Like it was when I was taking care of my grandma. And so she stayed with me there when I was taking care of my grandma. And she would come in, stay for a couple days, leave, whatever. So she came, and I don't even remember what we were fighting about. I just remember that I acted out of character. I was rude. I was mean. And she's like, whatever, I'm leaving. And she left. And then she sat in the car. I think she sat in the car. Or no, maybe she just left that time. So she left. And she went and stayed at a hotel somewhere. Right. I don't know who she was talking to. I don't know what she did. I don't know why she chose to go where she went. I don't know why she went to that hotel. I don't know if she was messing with somebody or whatever that may be. So I ended up marrying that girl. I know some of y'all are going, idiot. I feel you. And 7.5 years later, here we are married. And I came home from a trip. And I don't cheat. And I didn't. And I had kind of thought that maybe she was. There were some things that were really like, come on now. And I came home on a Monday. She packed her bag and left on a Tuesday. And she went and stayed at hotels. Now, this woman had like no money. She had no money to pay bills. But she was staying at hotels. And then she like went out to the Thousand Islands. And she got like some lavish charcuterie board. And I'm like, this woman who acts like she doesn't have like $10 to her name is out here spending money that people only spend when they got extra money. You know, there's people that go on vacation and they can afford to go on vacation. They can afford to live they can afford to pay their bills and then go on this vacation, but they don't have they can't pay their bills, go on the vacation and get the charcuterie board, right? That's like another level, right? When they buying wine for the table and whatever. So I don't know who was funding her to go on this little vacation and leave her life and her family. But I looked back and I thought about the parallel. Early on in our relationship, when there was a problem, she left and stayed at a hotel. 7+ years later, there was a problem. She left and stayed at a hotel. So when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And why did I bring up people walking out and bring up that example from my life? Because that is not how you solve problems. That woman, one of the last conversations that we had when we were still married, she said to me, You and I are different people. You want to solve a problem. When there's a problem, you want to solve it, you want to talk about it. I want to push it under the rug. That's two different ways of dealing with a problem. I said, no, it's not. You just described dealing with a problem versus not dealing with a problem. You just said, we're different because I like to work things out and you like to sweep them under the rug. Only one of those options is actually handling life. The other one is pretending that whatever's happening is not happening. And for those of you that push stuff under the rug, sweep stuff under the rug, y'all realize at a certain point, when you sweep everything under the rug gets too high, you trip over it, you can't even get around it, you can't even see around it. You put a piano under the rug, you're gonna trip and hit and crack your tooth. You gonna put the refrigerator under the rug? The more and more you put under a rug, just like any rug, it's going to start to have a little bump to it. Then that bump's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So you're going to trip over that bump, you're going to bang into that bump, and one day you're not even going to be able to see over that bump. So conversation amongst differing views. When I caught her cheating, you know what she said to me? Well, that depends on your definition of cheating. You know who says that? You guessed it. You probably said it to your screen right now. Cheaters. And I'm not giving you this information because I'm mad at her. I'm not giving you this information because I hate her. I hope she has a great life. I hope she's happy. I don't like the fact that, she could do all the things that she did and then just walk away and not apologize and live in a world where she's a saint when she done cut somebody and left them bleeding and then acted like she was a victim. I mean, I don't think that that's healthy, and I don't think that's good. And God only knows how she treats the men that she's dealt with since me, but hopefully it's better. I don't want any other man to have to go through what I went through. But I don't tell you this today to hurt her or put her on blast. I would like to hope she's not watching my show. And why would you want to stay connected? When I'm done with an ex, I'm done. I pray for you. I hope the best for you. But why am I going to be creeping on? And can we get rid of that? Creeping on people's social media? I don't want to date them. I don't want to be around her. But I'm going to watch every single thing that they do. Y'all some weirdos. Some of the biggest fans of your life are people that treated you the poorest and wanted nothing to do with you. Ain't that something? That's why I tell y'all, hey, be happy you got haters. That means you got some of the most dedicated fans. But conversations amongst differing views. It seems like in today's world, more than anything I've ever seen, and maybe I didn't see it when I was a kid because I wasn't paying attention, but I was a kid who was always older than I needed to be. And I remember that people in my family used to talk about each other when I was a kid, and they do it right in front of me. So, and they would never sit down and have conversations. They had differing views, and there are grudges that are held in my family right now that have gone on for longer than I've been alive, and I've been alive for 39 years and some change. And those people will not sit down and see the other person's viewpoint. We have to. We are social creatures. We have to be able to sit down and have differing views. There are people listening to the show today when I said, you can't be a man and identify as a woman any more than I can, get in my car and, like I said, drive into Onondaga Lake and say, well, I identify that my car is a submarine, so I'm going to be okay. Now, I'm going to drown. So those people that identify as birds, when they jump off of buildings, do they die or do they fly? I'm just curious. So, but there's people that have those views that probably shut the show up. I can't believe Dan would say that. He triggered me, blah, 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 whatever. But why can't we have the conversation? Why can't we have a conversation? I've watched people try to have conversations with people. I've watched believers and non-believers in God try to have conversation, and the non-believer just flipping out. Right? I dated a girl. Now, I'm Catholic, I'm Christian, but more than anything, my relationship with God is personal, And it goes beyond religion and all this. There's stuff with Catholic Church I agree with, and there's stuff I don't. And so my relationship with God is really important, right? And I had a conversation with somebody I love dearly. And I came into the conversation excited to talk with them. And I know that we differ. I know we do. But I get excited to talk with them because, see, here's the thing about me that some of y'all might think is crazy. When I get into a conversation with somebody that I know doesn't necessarily agree with me, I'm excited that I might learn something. They might change my viewpoint because they might give me some knowledge and wisdom I didn't have, and they can help me be a better person. That's how I enter a conversation with somebody that I differ with. I'm like, ooh, I might learn something today. This is exciting. This is fun. I don't walk into the conversation and go, I hate this person. But see, the person on the other side that I love so dearly, they went into the conversation with attack words and calling me names. Out of nowhere in the conversation, they said, you are a religious fanatic. I said, what? They said, you're a religious fanatic. I said, because I believe in God. I was like, I don't push God on anybody. They're like, yeah, you're a fanatic. They substantiated that statement with no evidence. They had no examples. Just how you talk to people. You just talk about God a lot. Talking about God a lot and being a fanatic are two totally different things. Saying I love God does not make me a fanatic. Getting up in your face and saying you're all going to hell, you're all going to die because you're terrible people, because God told me that you're terrible, that would be being a fanatic, in my opinion. Because I don't know that God would ever do that, have that conversation with anybody. Now, I dated a person that was a Catholic extremist. May still be. And I told her that she might as well be an atheist because the way that she spoke to people, including me, who has such a close relationship with God, I said, you talk to people in such a way that would make nobody want to go to church and would make people not want to believe in God. Because if they perceive Catholics to be like you, they will run from the church. They will. And that was coming from a Catholic to a Catholic. So, so to call me a fanatic when I've actually dealt with who I consider to actually be one and substantiate that in the fact of how they treated me and how they just acted in general and the way that they were on a consistent basis, but I would sit down and have conversations with her. And then she told me, I envy you. She said, you have such a close personal relationship with God. I said, yeah, I do. But there's nothing to envy. It's not something you can't have. God will always have, God is everybody's best friend, but you have to open that door. God's not going to open that door and beg you to be his best friend. He's just going to be like, hey, I'm here. But you got to be the one that, well, I shouldn't say God doesn't open the door. God leaves the door open. You got to walk through it. And so, for me, when I look at what's going on in life today, people don't want to talk with differing views. That's a Catholic to a Catholic, and we had differing views. And I tried to have a conversation with her. And sometimes she got so argumentative and she got so judgmental that it pushed me away. I'll have a conversation with you, but when you start getting personal and getting hateful and getting judgmental, we don't have to talk. And when I sat down with this other person in my life that I love dearly, and out of nowhere, they just told me I'm a religious fanatic and da-da-da, and they're calling me names. I'm like, I know for a fact that this person does not stand for me calling her names or anybody names. But she out here calling me names. And what I've realized with people nowadays is people will scream and cry and yell and call you names and say vile things to you. And then if you turn around and you talk very calmly and you go, I don't agree with you, they'll lose their mind. So they were allowed to swear at you, call your names, scream at you, and threaten you. But you can't say the words, I disagree. And they say there's 7 deadly sins, and I believe the 8th deadly sin is hypocrisy. I do. I do believe that hypocrisy should be marked down as a sin. Because it is such a dangerous weapon. And it's being used in today's culture all the time. Hypocrisy is used all the time. So for those of you that don't know the 7 deadly sins, I'm going to tell you what they are. the 7 deadly sins. The first one, pride. We see that word all over the place now. So, pride, also known as vanity, an excessive belief in one's abilities or qualities, is the definition. Greed is also known as covetousness, an excessive desire for wealth, possessions, or money. Lust, also known as fornication, intense and uncontrolled sexual desire or intense physical desire for another person. Envy, jealousy toward others' successes, possessions, or qualities. Gluttony, overconsumption of food, drink, or other pleasures. Wrath, also known as anger, intense and uncontrolled anger, hatred, or the desire to hurt or punish someone. Sloth, laziness, avoidance of work or duty, or a lack of interest or care. Now, I think the 8th deadly sin should be hypocrisy. I'm going to read you the definition of hypocrisy. The practice of claiming to have moral standards or beliefs to which one's own behavior does not conform. The practice of claiming to have moral standards or belief to which one's own behavior does not conform. That's hypocrisy. A feigning to be what one is not, or to believe what one does not. Behavior that contradicts what one claims to believe or feel. A situation in which someone pretends to believe something that they do not really believe, or that is the opposite of what they do or say at another time. Hypocrisy. All right? The double standard. What's good for the goose is not good for the gander. So that's something to pay attention to, right? And a lot of people have hypocrisy in today's world. And it's really sad, but it's true. People do not want to have conversations with people that they disagree with. So you just want to talk to a mirror. You want to surround yourself with people that tell you that you're right all the time. Yes people. Do you know who else probably wanted to surround themselves with yes people? Probably Hitler. Right? People conforming. Do you think the Middle East is asking people to conform? The COVID shot, that we didn't know what was in it or what the side effects would be or the long-term effects, that there was a conforming to that, right? There was a certain university in Syracuse that told us in the media, you don't have to get the COVID shot. But if you don't get it and prove that you got it, you can't cover our teams, nor can you even step on campus. Doesn't that sound like you have to get the shot? You don't have to get the shot, but if you don't get the shot, we won't let you do your job. That sounds like trying to get people to conform. So, forcing someone into conforming with you and only surrounding yourself with people that do and say whatever you do and say, you got puppets. You got sheep, and you're herding them. But you're hurting yourself. You're herding those sheep. You're hurting yourself. And you're hurting them too. How are you going to grow if you never talk to somebody who's got a different view? How are you going to learn? How are you going to understand? So if you don't talk to people that have differing views than you, and you can't have like an educated conversation where you respect each other, you think you know everything? Is that how it is? Like from when you were a baby, you just know it all? I've had conversations with people that have affected the way that I see things, the way that I think about things, the way that I feel about things. I've had people sit down with me and provide information I did not have prior to the conversation, and it helped me to learn and to grow. Where are we in society if we cannot have conversations amongst each other with differing views? So what are the ingredients to success for this? Be open. Be willing to sit down with people that don't necessarily agree with you. Or when you're sitting down with someone that you think agrees with everything you say and you got everything in common, and all of a sudden you got something not in common, don't get up and run unless it's something like they don't care if they cheat on people, or they give you some bombshell thing that like terrifies you and makes you feel unsafe. Yeah, then get up and run. But if you've got everything in common with someone and then they tell you, well, I'm conservative and you happen to be liberal, but you got everything else in common, you gonna run? You want to talk about it. Maybe y'all are moderate. Maybe they're conservative, but they see some liberal things. Maybe you're liberal and you see some conservative things, but you're not going to know that if you run. They say like gangs have been fighting so long they don't even remember what they're fighting for anymore. Isn't that like Democrats and Republicans? I'm sorry, but the Bloods and the Crips have the same colors as Republicans and Democrats, right? Red and blue. So the gangs are fighting represented by those colors, and the gangs of Congress are fighting represented by those colors. And they've been fighting so long, do they know what they're fighting for or about anymore? I want to sit with you if you got different. I get excited to have, how many conversations that I've had with people that don't have differing views than me. They have like the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean. They're on one side and I'm way on the other side. But I'm always willing to listen, hopeful to impart some knowledge and have some knowledge imparted to me too. But see, here's the thing. I've had conversations with people that I love dearly. And I've shared how I feel and how I think. I've shared the information that I've gathered over time, my knowledge and my wisdom. And they have shot me down and gotten real rude about I'm right, you're wrong. I don't approach a conversation. I've never walked into a conversation and said to somebody, I'm right about God, you don't believe in God, you're going to burn in hell and die. See you later. I'm right about this, you're wrong, shut up. I don't believe in I'm right, you're wrong, shut your mouth. Do I believe that God exists? Yes. When people tell me that he doesn't, do I think they're right? No. But if they want to sit down and have a conversation, I'm not going to go, let's start this conversation off by the fact of knowing before anything else, you're stupid, I'm smart, I'm great, you're dumb, I'm right, you're wrong. Okay, continue. How many people want to have a conversation with you like that? But we have to be able to have conversations with people amongst differing views. So that means being open. That means being humble. That means understanding you don't know everything. You have not gathered all the information of the world. There is no way that any human brain can have all the knowledge and the wisdom of this world. You could be here for 10 lifetimes, not have all the knowledge and wisdom of this world because you'd have to talk to every single person that had ever lived. And even after talking to every person that had ever lived, unless God wants to show you everything and tell you everything, you're not going to know everything. So you got to be open. You got to be humble. You got to understand that you don't know everything. You have not gathered every piece of knowledge and or wisdom. You never will be able to. Unless God wants to show you in heaven. But on this earth, you are never going to have it all. Okay? You have to be calm. And you have to not swear and not call people names and not get into a yelling match. If somebody starts yelling in a conversation, politely ask them to calm down. And if they don't calm down, then you have the right to walk away. And that's the other ingredient to success. Know when to walk away. You can have a conversation, but if someone's going to disrespect you and attack you personally, attack you publicly, attack you privately, you don't have to sit around and hang around for that. You have every right to walk away from that person, block that person, delete that person's phone number, and if it gets some kind of way, to call the authorities on that person. Be humble, be open, be willing to learn, Be willing to see that you may be wrong about something. Gather the facts. Not opinions. Gather the facts. Facts is like a weird word in today's world that seems to be like evaporating by the second. But let's bring back facts. Hashtag facts are cool. Hashtag facts matter. Hashtag facts for the win. So let's start trending that stuff. And when another ingredient to success for conversations amongst differing views, don't judge. You don't know what that person's been through. And even if they tell you what they've been through, you don't know everything that they've been through. And even if you know everything that they've been through, you weren't there. You were not there. I was dating a girl and I told her about this one girl that was physically abusing herself in front of me. And it was really scary when I witnessed that in the relationship. You know what that girl told me that I was dating at the time when I told her the story about the girl that was physically abusing herself? You know what she said to me? Well, that sounds crazy. No woman would ever do that to themselves. So what did you do to make her do that to herself? And I sat there and I thought to myself, I never thought that the situation of watching somebody hit themselves would be worse than physically actually seeing it. But this woman that I was dating at the time somehow found a way to take an awful situation and make it worse by taking everything that I saw that was scary and then blaming me for it. It's like walking upon a crime scene where a body is mutilated and thrown in 25 different places and then somebody going, well, you did it. And like, that's the first time you ever been walking in that field. To witness what I witnessed in that relationship and how that woman was treating herself in front of me was scary. And then I had somebody tell me, you made her do it. And I thought to myself, I don't even have words for you right now. You know, so the other thing about talking to people with differing views and people talking to people that have the same views as you don't have to tell everybody your whole life story. You don't owe anybody anything, and you don't have to tell them, you know, all these like nooks and crannies of you. I mean, you're the one that went through that life. You need to be really select, and I've learned this in life. You got to be really selective of the people that you talk about your life. You got to be really selective. Because there are people out here that are a friend in the streets and a demon in the sheets. And you gotta be real careful about who you let have information about your life. Some people don't even deserve to know your middle name because they've been dragging everything through the trash. So just be really smart about the conversations that you entertain and put yourself into, and be willing to have conversations with people that are different than you. America is so screwed up right now because nobody wants to sit and talk with anybody that thinks anything other than what they think. I mean, what are we going to do? Who's your favorite Disney character? Mine's Mickey, mine's Pluto. We're never talking again. We're not friends because you like a different character. Like, are we that childhood on the playground petty? Are we to the point where, like, we're going to stop being friends with somebody because they don't like pepperoni pizza and we do? Like, we're living in a world right now where people are so touchy about everything, which is really stupid. Like, you can't treat racism the same as a topping on a pizza. Like, if I am around somebody and I consider them a friend and I hear them say racial stuff and I say, you need to stop that, and they don't, we're not going to be friends anymore. But if you want pepperoni on a pizza, live your life. They ain't got nothing to do with pepperoni being racist. Where's pepperoni racist? That don't make no sense. Pepperoni is a food. It doesn't have an opinion. So, again, we need to start calling things out that don't make any sense. But you got to be willing to have conversations with people that are totally different than you. That's what makes the world go round. I wouldn't have the friends I have today. I wouldn't have the business partnerships that I have today. I wouldn't have the guests that I've had on the show today. I would not have had the journey that I've had these 39 years if I wasn't willing to have conversations with people who had differing views than me. And I am grateful for every single one of those conversations, even the ones that didn't, quote unquote, go well, because that person yelled, or they disrespected me, or they were just kind of off the wall, or whatever that may be. You may not respect me, but that ain't got nothing to do with me. That says more about you than it says about me. I'm just sitting here and I'm listening and I'm seeking to learn and I'm seeking to grow. If I can come into a conversation and listen to you talk about something that I don't necessarily agree with and hear you out, then where do you get off coming into the same conversation saying I'm only staying here if this person sounds exactly like me, kisses my butt, and tells me I'm awesome? Again, hypocrisy. If I walked into a conversation and said, I'm only staying in this conversation if you kiss my butt and tell me I'm great, most people would walk up and go, you're an idiot. You're a psycho. What are you talking about? You're a narcissist. But the people that call you a narcissist, man, so many of those people are narcissists. I guess they know the word and the definition because they live it every day. But someone who can't sit down and have a conversation with you where you're going to be a little different than them, man, this world is going to, it's like halting a machine. It's like getting something stuck in the wheel of a machine. The machine is like, it can't move and it's sparking and it might start a fire and pieces might start flying off because there's something stuck in the gear and the wheel can't move. Don't be one of those things that get stuck in the wheel. The world can't keep going around like a wheel keeps going around if we can't sit down and have conversations with people that have differing views. This has been the Ingredients to Success, proudly presented by Avicolli, 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, right down the street from Liverpool High School. You can see the high school from the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road that Avicolli's is located on. Route 57 is AKA Oswego Road. And of course, we're there every month with our Liverpool athletic broadcasts. I want to thank you all for tuning in today on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com, up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I also want to thank you for being with us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT, and find us there today. Make sure to subscribe and follow. It is free to do so. And of course, we love our team of partners in Central and Upstate New York. We implore you to go visit them. And them, speaking of Great Lakes Honda City, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, MON-FRI, the snack capital of the world, Avicolli's, Servomation, Mother's Cabot, K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A, Cicero, Pizza Man, Brian's Landing, and of course, we also implore you to go and visit the Brooklyn Pickle down in North Carolina, from New York to North Carolina, going down the East Coast with those fantastic sandwiches and everything that they have to offer at Brooklyn Pickle. I know they have sandwiches and soups and salads and more, but I am just, when I go in there, I have to get the BP. I got to get the Brooklyn Pickle sandwich. I got to get it on whole wheat, and I'm just all about it all the time. And of course, I love their turkey sandwich as well. Turkey, a little bit of mayo, provolone, lettuce, shredded lettuce. Oh, so good. Get out to the Brooklyn Pickle today. Like you just like your body, every person's stomach should have a Brooklyn Pickle sandwich in it at some point. That is my belief, and that is my hope. As President of the United States, I think that everyone should have a Brooklyn Pickle sandwich at least once. 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. And of course, we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse. Find the Bobcats in the Bobcat Buzz every single month. Student athletes, coaches, and administration, as well as alumni, join me throughout the year telling the story of Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse. We got a lot of awesome things that we've gotten to do over the last 3+ years, and we just were able to have the exclusive conversation with all two new head coaches, one new head recruiter at Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse. and a lot of great things that we got to do with the national tournament for men's basketball, where Brian and Stratton was in Buffalo as the #1 overall seed in the nation. Don't miss a second of all of our coverage by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, find our BSC Syracuse playlist. The Bobcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every Tuesday during Bearcat Time at 10 a.m. Eastern Time weekly on Wake Up Call, with student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni telling their stories of being a part of the greater Bearcat family. Every story is different and everything is real, and it's not like anything you'll find anywhere else. Find all of our broadcasts with Binghamton by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, find the Binghamton playlist, and you can also go to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and find Binghamton as well as underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Inside of MonPausPopcorn.com is what's popping. Thanks to Carvel DeWitt for the annoying moment of the week, Chick-fil-A Cicero for lead, K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare for the top dog of the week, and of course, Avicolli's for the ingredients to success. Find us on Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, X at CallDT, Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. Of course, our Instagram story featuring inspirational pieces like In a New York Minute, proudly presented by Brooklyn Pickle in Southern Pines, North Carolina, and some funny things as well. So make sure you check those out here today. And of course, from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, as always, I say God bless. No stress, do your best. Have a wonderful day. Be kind to each other. Be open to each other. And please understand that reality doesn't have to get distorted unless you let it. Be safe. Be kind. And be yourself. I love you all. Take care.